We are going in five, four, three, two. In this Creator Series interview, I'm talking to an artist, a musician, and a DIY enthusiast all about her experience learning to create her own music. Please welcome to Studio Live today, Adrian Clement. How are you doing today, Adrian?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Super excited to have you here on the series, and yeah, just to dive in and learn. You do so many different things, and I think folks are going to get a lot of information out of this. No pressure or anything, but I love the work you do with your music, your craft, your art, your DIY. So let's jump into it. What I like to start with is a little bit of your origin story. So your musical background. What is it that got you into creating music?
Well, I don't have much of a musical background. My mom was a wonderful singer, but she was more like a karaoke singer. And other than that, I did choir a little bit, maybe for 1 year, and then sang with a church on the stage for 1 year. And then other than that, that was so many years ago. I didn't do music until 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
So that is a different answer to what I get from most folks because a lot of people are like, yeah, at the age of 3, my mum would just play records, and my dad was a famous piano player, and all these sort of things. So I actually think that that's very cool because 2 years. So what sparked that? What made you go, yes, music? I need to
Um,
venture into the world of music.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick. In reality, 5 years ago, I was telling my husband, I just need more music in my life, and I feel like I'm not pursuing music the way I need to be. So he ran out and bought me an audio interface and a microphone, and he bought all these things for me that I needed. I had a laptop already, so I got with my third child right away, and everything was on hold for 2 years. So that's why it just began 2 years ago, and it started with guitar lessons with Your Guitar Sage and the Unstoppable Guitar System. And then I think from there I went to Patrick Baird's material, and then went to Dean Davis, and I just consumed information nonstop. I just pretty much did everything that I could to learn how to use my equipment and software, and
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I love it. We're getting some folks here live who are saying that they can't hear you, and you had this problem beforehand, Adrian, saying that wasn't happening as well. So I'm wondering we might need to do a couple of quick tests here. It says that your voice is too soft. So do you want to try and get your volume up a bit there at that end?
Yeah, I turned up the microphone. Did that help any?
I
Or
think
like
that's coming
the
through okay.
input?
Let's check with the folks here. We'll get Adrian to say a few words here.
How's that? Can you guys hear me any better? I turned up the input
It's coming through
volume.
okay now. So hopefully,
Better?
hearing
Okay.
hopefully we're going to get that. Hearing slap back on her mic. Hopefully we'll get this sorted in just a moment. I'll make sure that
All
that
right,
my
guys.
end is not causing anything.
I don't know exactly what I could do on my end
No,
other
no,
than turn it up.
it's a little better. We're getting there.
I can
Um,
turn it up more. I just didn't want to blow anyone away.
no, better. All right. Well, we've got that is better, and we've got a little better, and we've got still can't hear. So we're going to just proceed on. So the
Okay.
we can work through this. So I loved hearing for those that didn't hear. So I'll reiterate a bit of what Adrian was saying. So yeah, wanted to get into music. Yeah, husband got you the audio interface, and then you started diving in online, learning from all the various folks online, and getting your recording happening. That is pretty cool. What so the creating, so the actual music side of it sounds like recording you got into pretty easily, like pretty early on, that you actually started the recording as opposed to just playing music.
Um, no, I think guitar lessons came first, and
Hmm.
then I did start to create tracks in GarageBand without guitar because obviously I hadn't played guitar long enough. But that was just right at 2 years. I mean, I really haven't been doing anything before that. Yeah, I haven't. Just 2 years for
Yeah,
all
no,
of it.
Yeah, it's very cool, and you talked about the gear that you're using. What sort of gear? What's the stuff that you lean on when you use? So recording in GarageBand, is that the main thing that you're using at the moment, and what sort of hardware
Yeah.
and that sort of things you're using?
Yeah, I have an M Audio M Track audio interface, and it did come with Ableton Live, but it was confusing and it looked really boring. And then GarageBand was on my Mac. I've had this Mac for 11 years,
No.
and I thought, wow, look at all these great pictures. I can do this. I can understand. And I don't want to waste my time being so technical. I just want to get to the point on it, and that's what GarageBand did. It just was like, all right, up and going with it. And I just, this microphone that I have, this is what I started with, just a condenser microphone. And I mean, gosh, what else do you need, right?
That's
Just a couple of things.
it's so cool, and yeah, it's great to hear that, because the sort of things that you produce, and the sort of music that you're creating, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, because I know you've got some projects and other things you're working on at the moment. It is, and talking to other folks, talking to Josh yesterday and other folks that are creating, it seems to be so much more about your passion, your energy, and the music that you're creating. The gear is really just the conduit between that and getting your song out there. So I think we spend a lot of time focused on the gear, where it's actually the creating that it sounds like
Yeah.
that you are focused on there.
Well, if I could throw one other thing in, that I think the reason why um, these songs are coming out decent is because I've been getting feedback. That's
Yep.
the most important thing. And I've been getting feedback from people who understand frequencies. Like if your bass end is too low, there's just different things like that. And so they were the ones who really helped me shape my song, because I've listened to my song so many times that I can't hear it with perspective anymore. So
Yep.
they were really the ones that would tell me, try this and try this. And so I really owe a lot of it to them, that they helped me. It was like my team of people
Yeah.
helping me. The VIP recording revolution group. Yeah, that's where all the feedback came from. So without that, I don't think that my songs would have sounded this good, because not because of the gear, but because the settings, learning how to use the settings, learning how to use EQ. It's not plug and play. And I
Yeah.
think that's where people think that it's about gear, because they think, well, maybe it doesn't sound good because I need some different gear. It's just because they don't know how to edit, you know? So,
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely, and yeah, and I love that. I know that you are a big Graham Cochran Recording Revolution fan, but yeah, big shout out there if you haven't checked out Graham's Recording Revolution. I don't know where you've been. I think of the folks watching this, 90% probably already know. But if not, go over to the Recording Revolution, because Graham has some great stuff over there. We're getting some feedback here that you are sounding much better, so that is great. We don't want to miss any of what you have to say. So that is all good. Now, you do so many different things outside of music, but also music related. So why don't you tell us about some of the people are thinking, why is there music in DIY? Where does DIY come into it when it comes to Adrian and your music? So what are some of the things you do? I know that you do some artwork with some pick guards and some other very cool things. So why don't you let folks know a little bit more about that?
Well, I got the idea for what's called pour painting pit guards. I think it was probably last year. And I started out just wanting to make myself a cool pit guard, because my guitar had a plain white pit guard and I thought it was boring.
Mhm.
And then it turned out so good. And people from my guitar groups were like, you should sell these. So I have started to do that. I've sold a few,
Yep.
and I've just started to make more of them to put into my Etsy store. And it's really neat. It's another outlet. It's another outlet. I can't always do music. My poor
Mm.
kids, they kind of need me to come out of my headphones. So, doing that kind of stuff is something that they can be a little bit more part of. I'll let them play in paint afterwards, and get messy and make their own artwork with it and things like that.
Yep.
And then I got into making cakes, which is really new for me. I'm not that great at it, but I do it because I want my kids to have nice birthday cakes that I didn't buy. So I'm trying to get better at birthday cakes, but I do
Yep.
like to make them like completely from scratch. So that's where DIY comes in. I'm just a very I don't like to spend money too much, so if I
Mm.
can do something without spending money, I will. That's where DIY comes in. You'll see me in the aisles of Ace Hardware looking for something that they don't even make. It's like the story of my life. I'm trying to make something work and I find a way. I don't give up until I make it possible. So it's kind of funny.
That is so cool, and I would love to be more like that. I lack the patience for DIY. I must admit. I see the things you do, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I
Oh,
will buy something like that someone else like Adrian has
yeah.
done.
It can be
Um,
frustrating though. It can be.
yeah,
It's not always just so calm and cool, you have your it can be a little stressful, especially if it's not turning out right and then you don't want to give up on it. You just like keep trying. That's my mentality.
that's and that is a good philosophy, and I think that
Yeah.
the reason I wanted to ask about this is it relates so well to music as well, because I think any sort of art that you're doing, and music, if especially home recording, is kind of the ultimate DIY. So I think it's
Yes.
no surprise
Yes.
that there's a match there between what you do
Oh,
with
I
your
got
art,
chills
your
when you
creativity.
said that. Like really. You're so right. It's yes.
There you go. Well, that you need to start your own DIY channel, DIY music. Like music is just your DIY. So,
Yeah.
a question I get asked a lot. I'm gonna ask you because you were wrangling your 3-year-old like minutes before we started the live show here. So
Yeah.
obviously you've got a lot of guitars in the background. You're in your music area there. You're playing music. You're managing family as well. You're doing arts and crafts. You're doing DIY. You're selling things on Etsy. How do you manage your time? People say to me, Pete, how do you manage your time? Adrian, how do you manage your time to make time for music?
I don't watch TV. I wake up really early. Um I take breaks when I'm tired. Like if
Mhm.
I'm feeling like it's too much, I'll take a couple days off because I overcommit quite a bit.
Yeah.
And gosh, I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with I'm pretty isolated in a small town. I'm home all day, which I think allows for this sort of thing because I can do everything on my own time frame. So I think that's the biggest reason why I'm able to do so many things
Mm.
because I'm on my own time schedule. And I mean, I'm on my kids' time schedule, but
Yeah.
technically it all can be done, you know, I have two hands, so
Yeah.
I wish I had more. But I just find a way and if I'm tired, I stop and I don't quit. I just go back to it when I'm ready and try to
Yeah.
keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good point. I'm really glad that you pointed that out about making sure that you make time for yourself and that you do step back sometimes if things aren't going well. Because I think too many
Mhm.
of us, and I'll put my hand up here as someone that does this. Again, we were chatting just beforehand. Like you go and you go and you go, and you don't kind of realize and it's kind of like you don't realize you're thirsty until like you're feeling thirsty. But by that stage, you're well dehydrated. It's kind of the same with
Absolutely.
your energy. Is that by the time you
Mhm.
realize you're drained of energy and you're not putting in your best performance, that's when you need to take a break. So yeah, if you can learn,
Mhm.
understand what when your body and your mind is telling you that, then
Yes.
take a step away. And it's not a bad thing, and it's not something to say that you're not strong. In fact, the strongest
Yeah.
people are the ones, as Jade here says, that have that self care mentality. Because again, especially if you're looking after a family as well as doing all of your projects, yeah, if you don't look out for you, number one, then you can't care for the other people and care for
Yes.
your own music and
Yes.
things you're doing. So
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
love that. We've got a question here. I'll come over here to the live chat. So hello to the folks who are watching here live. Thank you for helping us get the technical difficulties sorted at the start there. Hopefully we're all sounding and looking good here. Now, do you have plans to release, this is from Jade Star, do you have plans to release a single EP or album in the future? What are your plans on releasing and sharing your music?
I'm going to keep working on just singles right now, and I do have one coming out.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason being is because I have to respect my kids' need for me to be in their life. And so there has to be some sort of a limit. And yes, I would love to make an EP and an album and just pour myself into it. But, my kids need me. So I'll be doing singles until I have a couple more years until my youngest goes to school. And
Yeah.
then we'll see what happens from there. I doubt I'll be just sitting at home all day doing nothing unless I
Yeah.
really prove to my husband that it's worth it. But other than that, I'll be needing to get a job or something. I was a hairdresser for 22 years, so
Oh,
I
wow.
will possibly go back to that. I went to beauty school in the 10th grade and I finished before I was done with high school, so I'll probably do that. But just singles
Yeah.
until then.
Very
Yeah.
cool. No, absolutely, and it's probably where music has gone anyway. To be honest, we could. I won't go on a big rant about the whole singles and EP. I miss albums because I'm old enough to remember when you bought things
Yeah.
on actual physical
Oh,
products and
yeah.
you play an entire album. You just sit down there with headphones on and relax for an hour listening to an album.
Yeah. I love
Doesn't tend
it.
to happen. It's all
Yeah.
playlists and shuffle and singles these days. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's the way it is, and I think especially for home recording folks, and it's a good question. I'm glad you answered that way because so many people come to me saying, "Pete, I want to release an album. Like, how do I get an album out there?" And I say, "Why don't you start with a single?" Like release a song. Like I think sometimes we set the bar right up here, and then we feel like we're failing if we don't hit it. Like set yourself little mini goals as you go along. You may have an album's worth of songs, but why not release 10 singles and give yourself those little bite-sized chunks to achieve, and then it'll
Yeah.
turn into an album over time. Uh,
Well, and I'm just learning too. So I mean, I really am just kind of going along a step at a time here since I only have 2 years of experience. So much more to learn with guitar and everything, music theory, all of that. So yeah, each song is sort of another step in that journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Very, very cool. I'll jump back over here. Now, I've got a specific question just for you. Now, where the name Ace? You talked about Ace Hardware before. Did it come from there? But I've checked your
No.
Facebook page. You've got Ace on there. Ace the Gauntlet. Like you go by a lot of different pseudonyms there, Adrian. So why don't you tell us the
Yeah.
story behind some of those names?
My mom gave me Ace. That's my
Yeah.
nickname for my mom. She's always called me that, and everyone who knew me as a child always called me that.
Yeah.
So it sticks. It's with me. I keep
It's
it.
it's very cool. I like it. I would like to have a name like Ace. I've never had a cool name. But yeah,
She
it
said,
kind of
she said, I'll tell you the reason. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know. She's good at coming up with little sayings, but she said it was because whenever I was with her when she played poker, she would win. But I don't know. She says I'm lucky.
Well, that is good. Ace is both number one, and it's also the highest card in a lot of games. So there you go. You can stand by that. You can be at the top, and you can also be the number one.
Yeah.
No
It's
pressure or
like
anything.
jack of all trades, like ace of all trades kind of thing.
There,
You know?
there you go. Okay, I
Yeah.
like it. I like it a lot. Question here from Patrick over at the Garage Band Guide, who you mentioned earlier in the show. Someone who helped you out early on. We know
Yeah.
you've got a new cajon. We saw you
Oh,
unbox it. For those that are in the Garage Band users Facebook group, how is your cajon rated out of 10 so
oh, my cajon's a 15. I love it. It's a 15. I'm serious. I tweaked it because it's a tunable one. It has
far?
guitar strings that rattle on the
Oh
inside
wow!
just for snare. Not a guitar sound, it's a snare
Yeah.
sound. But when you tweak it and you get it just right, oh, it's so cool. It's the best sound. I love it. I really recommend getting one that's like that one. It's great. Yeah.
That is, yeah, it is cool. And if you don't know what a cajon is, it's a box basically that to kind of substitutes a kick drum and a snare drum. So you sit on it and you whack it, and you can play along, and it's a good for acoustic music. So, yeah, I have one somewhere that I need to. You've inspired me. I need
You
to get my cajon
do?
back out and.
You better get that out.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know. My daughter loves playing it. She's kind of claimed it, and we've got aspirations. We're going to become an acoustic duo, and we're going to go out and sing and play acoustic guitar and cajon. And I think it'll be
awesome.
a lot
I
of
love
fun.
that. That sounds great.
Yeah,
Ah,
you got to try these things. People like you inspire me because I'm like,
so
if Adrian's making pick guards and doing all this craft and DIY and baking cakes and then creating
she
songs,
doesn't
not to
even know
mention.
what she's doing.
Oh well, it's interesting, Jade says here that for someone with 2 years experience, your skills are amazing. I can't wait to be a fan. 5 years from now, you'll be unstoppable. So there you go.
Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. I appreciate it. And the word unstoppable is perfect because the unstoppable guitar system is how I started. So I'm just going to
Go.
continue on with that.
Goes full
Yes.
circle, doesn't it? Yeah, started with the unstoppable guitar, learned that, and yeah, I've got so much respect. It makes me want to like go and just learn a completely new and different instrument because, yeah, I think we
Really?
get into our comfort zone so much, and especially those of us that have played from early on. I think we can actually learn a lot from folks like yourself who've got into it a little bit later in life because it's like, yeah, hey, well, there's nothing stopping you. Again, unstoppable. There you go. You've got a new
Yeah. I'm
unstoppable ace.
42. I mean, I'm 42 with 3 kids. Why not?
Right. Well, exactly. I'm thinking that's like a tweet. It's just like, I'm 42 with 3 kids. What's stopping you?
Exactly.
Oh,
So
love it. Right. I think I'll see if we have any other questions from the folks here live. Hello to everyone, by the way. We got Steve here, we got Mark, we got Patrick. There's a bunch of folks, Trent, and yeah, thanks again for helping us out. Brazil's here. Yeah, we've got a bunch of people
Love it.
here. What Darren's here live.
Thank you
We'll.
so much, everyone.
I'm getting so sidetracked just talking about all these topics.
I'm
I should
sorry.
probably come back to my stock questions here and make sure we cover some of this.
Okay.
So of your music recording, what would you say is your favorite thing to use to record? You got your interface. You've obviously got a lot of different guitars and things there. If there's one, apart from your cajon, which probably be number one now that it's a 15 out of 10, what's the other piece of gear? Knowing that we have already said that gear is not the most important thing, but is there one thing that you just love using when you're recording or when you're creating music?
My iPhone. I mean, yeah, I like my audio interface, but gosh, my little iPhone, I can't believe
Mm,
it can do everything that it can do. You know, the apps that I use for my live looping that I'm learning, it's amazing to me that it can all be just right inside this little tiny phone right in front of me. It's great. Yeah,
very
that's
cool.
my thing. And the biggest reason I think is because of music memos. Music memos on there, that just makes it like well worth it.
It is very cool. And funnily enough, there's links to everything here because you posted a video from a guy called JP about music memos a couple of weeks ago or months ago even. And then I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, I don't know about this JP guy over in the UK. So I'm like, oh, I've
Right?
reached out to him and said, hey, you do some cool stuff. Come on the show. So yeah, the fact that you learned music
Uh-huh.
memos, and I know that Lewin did a video and over at GarageBand and Beyond, and
Yeah.
JP did a video, and then I'm like, oh, that's someone else that I don't know about in this world. So yeah, but music
Yes.
memo, if you haven't tried it, yeah, definitely check it out. It's like a voice memos, but with just like crazy, ridiculous features. So yeah,
Looking at my
give
screen.
it a try. You've got various family members and pets running behind you, but that's okay.
Oh my god, my cat's looking at me.
Adds
Let
to
me
the feel.
outside.
Love so yeah, so there you go, pet owner as well. So you've got children, dogs, guitars,
Yeah,
your Wrangler,
husband. My husband
husband.
lives.
Yeah. I won't ask you which one takes the most effort and care.
Oh, yeah, don't ask that. It's the dog.
The dog. Very, very cool. I've got a question here from Josh, who, funnily enough, I interviewed right here on the series yesterday.
Yeah,
And this is
great
interesting
interview.
because you have like we haven't even talked about your looping. You do a lot of live looping type work, and you create different sort of styles of music. What are some of your influences? So what's some of the music that Adrian and that Ace kicks
Mm.
back to when you want to relax and listen to some tunes?
Um, I really like an artist named Anthony Hamilton. I've been listening to him for about 20 years, and
Nice,
he's featured quite a bit on a lot of other people's songs. You'll hear this voice in the background, and you may not know who it is, and it's Anthony Hamilton.
very cool.
I like India Ari, you know, and then I like some older stuff like Otis Redding and Nina Simone, and gosh, I don't know. I mean, I was really big into Mariah Carey, and there's just
Mm.
I can't even think of all of them, but those would be the first ones that I would name. Yes, there's a lot. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have a whole playlist of all the songs that I like to listen to, and it's huge, and I love it.
That's very cool. Love it. Yeah, well, there you go. I'll go and check that out as well. But yeah, it's a good segue too, because we do have your YouTube channel linked down below, so you can go down and check out what Adrian's got going on there. Also, your SoundCloud and your Facebook. So wherever you would like to check out Adrian and her music and other things as well. So I think I love your YouTube channel and I love what you share on Facebook because it's not just the music, as we say, it's
Yeah.
all sorts of other projects and things like you all sort of art and music related or adjacent. But yeah, a lot of very cool stuff there. So highly suggest folks go over there and check it out. One of the questions I love asking people, and this will be great to hear what your thoughts are on this because you kind of were this person a couple of years ago. But if someone is starting out in their music creation, music recording journey now, what is the best piece of advice that you would give them before they get started if they're feeling apprehensive or if they're feeling like they don't know what they're doing? What do you say to them?
Don't be afraid to sound bad. You know, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just embrace it and joke about it, admit it. You know, don't expect you're not going to walk in as a prodigy. You're going to work for it and learn it and earn it. And I think
I think we might have Temporarily lost Adrian. The stream.
Oh,
Oh, we're back. You're back.
sorry about that. That I say that because I was always very self-conscious, and it took me so long to get into music because I was just too self-conscious.
Hmm.
Don't worry about that stuff. That's what I would say.
That that is excellent advice, and too many people, and I think again, without getting off on a really big rant about this, I think in the age, like I often say that back in the 90s when I was playing really bad music, no one really knew. Like my parents knew because they could hear the noise coming from my bedroom, but no one else actually knew the terrible music that was coming out there. But yeah, for those of us that are around these days, I do feel sorry for those producing because everything is so public, everything is so out there. We have lost Adrian just briefly. We'll give her a couple of seconds to see if she comes back online. A few technical difficulties, but I think there's some amazing information that Adrian has been imparting on us here that we will get her back on and get her chatting. I think she's just come back on.
Hey,
Boom,
sorry about
back
that. I
into
don't
the
know what happened.
it's okay. You'd been slightly
Yeah.
pixelating for a while, so I think there
Have
might
I?
be a few connection issues. But I gave a summary of what you were saying there, and
Oh,
I was alluding to the fact that I feel a bit bad that people starting now, everything's so public, and I think everyone feels like they have to share on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube all the time. And yeah,
uh-huh.
don't be afraid to make really bad music, and you don't even have to. You can keep it 100% private when you're starting out. No one needs to even know
Yeah.
what you're doing. Once you reach the level that you want to share, then start sharing. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of folks that come to me and they're like, Pete, I'm making music, but it's not sounding like what I hear on the radio. And I say, how long have you been creating music? And they say, this is my second song. We're doing it in about 3 weeks. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you might need a couple more weeks at least before you get this down. And I think your point
Yeah.
earlier about learning not just the gear, but things like EQ, and you can
Yes.
spend too much time learning and not enough time applying. But if you spend, at the start, you want to spend a lot of time learning, but then you want to switch into application mode. Because I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that are music experts or think that they might be because they've watched so many tutorial videos that they're like, I know exactly what frequency to tweak. And I'm like,
Right.
well, do you actually do that on your videos? I'm like, oh, on your songs? And they're like, oh yeah, I should probably apply that. So yeah,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
Very yeah. So I love that point. Don't be afraid to be bad. Don't be afraid of
Yeah.
what you may sound like
And then
originally because you can improve.
if I could add the second point, which you didn't ask me to, but and we did say it already earlier, but
Go for
along with that is get feedback because so many times in the studio you can't really hear it well. And so that's why it sounds good to you and not to other people. So get feedback and don't be afraid for someone to say, "Whoa, ugh, that don't, ugh." Don't, don't be offended if they don't like it. Say, "Oh, that's great." I always thank people when they say that didn't sound good. I'm like, "Oh, okay, you're exactly the person I need to talk to. Tell me more." And that's very important.
That is great advice, and I'm glad you added that second point. I do want you to tell us things like that because yeah, I think from what you said, you've got the VIP community at Recording Revolution. We've got the GarageBand users Facebook group where I know a lot of folks share a lot of music. There's so many
Yeah.
places online you can share, and to your point, it's not about there's what I call the American Idol syndrome, where you share music with your friends and family, and they go, "Great job, that's sounding great," and they're going to say that whether it's sounding amazing or whether it's only kind of just average. That's nice to get those people to tell you that they like your music, but what you need is kind of strangers, or you need people that are not necessarily people that are complete strangers to you, but that will give you constructive feedback. That they'll actually tell you, "Hey, I
Absolutely.
really like what you did here, but." As they say to me, you mixed your vocals too loud because I always mix my vocals too loud. So my mum's not going to tell me that, but guys
Yeah.
over on the GarageBand users group will tell me that because they know that I want to
Yeah.
make the best music. So that's good.
Yes, definitely.
Very cool. We are coming towards the end here. I will just see if we've got any other questions for you. Yes, Patrick says GarageBand. Patrick from the GarageBand guide said feedback is so important. 100% agree with that. Trent says just subscribe to your channel. That's always good to see. So that's what we like to see. I'll just say no one else that has any specific questions. So I'll jump into a question that's probably the last question, unless anyone else pops anything up here. I'm trying to find that comment to get rid of it. There we go. What would you say? So in the last sort of couple of years that you've been creating music, that you've been recording music, that you've been doing all of these artistic projects, what's the proudest moment that you've had since you actually started?
So far, and I expect this to, I still have a long way to go, but so far, I was able to take my late brother's song that he was writing before he passed away 10 years ago, and I was able to bring it into full production and gift it as a love offering to his friends and family for how much we
Mhm.
miss him. He was We were separated our whole life as kids, and when I found him 10 years ago, he was a recording engineer, and he was
Oh, wow.
learning all these things. And we didn't ever get to delve into any of that together, really, but he
Mm,
had such an impact on people's lives, and I knew that I needed to bring one of his songs to life to remember him. And so that was definitely the proudest moment, very emotional.
mm.
His dad gifted me his old acoustic guitar after that song was produced. And so
Wow.
then, now I have, and it's such a memento for me because I didn't get to grow up with my brother, and now he's gone. And so that was definitely a proudest moment, bringing his music to life.
That's that's awesome. That is such a great thing, and yeah, it's so cool to hear because I think music can be so powerful, and it can be such a thing that yeah, it helps us remember. It helps heal. It does so many good things, and that's
Yeah.
just a wonderful demonstration of the power of music. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
That's super cool. We'll take some topping. So yeah, I can imagine that's you be working hard to before you'll be able to be prouder of something than that. You're working on some music at the moment as well. You sort of alluded to it before. Do you want to just take us quickly through that before we finish up here today? What are folks expecting to hear from the next song from you?
Oh, what are they gonna hear? Gosh, okay.
Mm.
Um, well, I brought in James Miller from the Unstoppable Guitar System group to the GarageBand users group because I wanted him to play a guitar solo on this song. He helped me name it. It's called Tiny Feet. It's about the summer that we had in this house. I love this house. And my kids and I had such a fun summer here. And so there's a video with it of summer footage. And it's a feeling. To me, the song says, enjoy your kids while they're young,
Mm,
don't take them for granted. Appreciate the little things and the beauty that's around you. And to me, I made this song and the video for my kids when they get older, so that
mm.
they can look back and remember this time in our life that we had, and it be such a beautiful memory. And why not share that with everyone else if I can, so that's what's
That is
coming. Look for
that
Tiny Feet.
Oh, absolutely, and I may or may not have got an exclusive sneak peek at the video and song, and,
Yeah.
you won't be disappointed. It is, very, very cool, so I'm, looking forward to that, and we'll definitely share that,
Mhm.
with the Studio Live Today community once it is available and released as well. Speaking of available and released, where can folks go to check out everything that you're doing, your music, your everything else? Where would you like to send folks, at this stage?
YouTube is probably the first place that you could go to. And then I have a public Facebook page. Not a whole lot going on there. Need to be doing more with that one. But
Come on, Adrian, you have to
SoundCloud,
stop
yeah,
it.
I have my music on SoundCloud. Drupal is another
Mhm,
place that people could go. I'm not sure if logging in. I'm not sure how easy it is to listen to songs on Dribble if you don't have an
mm,
account. I think you can, but if you can't, then SoundCloud is the best for that. But YouTube, I mean, YouTube has got everything on
very
my
cool.
channel there, more
And
than you would even want to watch.
if you wanna watch more than you'd ever wanna watch, go to YouTube. That could be their new slogan, I think. More stuff than you'll ever wanna watch. Very,
Yes.
very cool, and, of course, they are linked, down in the description of this video, so I do encourage you to go down into the description, check out all of, what Adrian has going on. It's all so fascinating. It has been wonderful to catch up with you. I've known of what
Thank
you've
you.
been doing for probably close to a year now, and, yeah, I've been really keen to find out more. And I know, despite a few audio difficulties and technical glitches here, I know the folks here in the Studio Live Today community will have enjoyed this and will have got a lot of value out of hearing what you're doing. And if you're not inspired to go and get started and to start creating things after this, then yes, I don't know what's wrong. But thank you again. Any parting words, any final thoughts that you have before we finish up here?
Oh, I just really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk. And I just want to thank you and thank everybody who commented and everyone who watched. And let's just keep doing this whole thing together, right? I mean, we can just keep on going. That's all.
Absolutely. I love it. Great parting words. Keep doing that indeed. So jump down below. If you did get some value out of this, you can hit the like button. That just tells Adrian and I that you had some fun here. And of course, subscribe to Adrian's channel, which is linked down below. Thanks everyone for being here. It has been a wonderful catching up and learning more about Adrian. And we will catch you on the next video. Take care, folks. Have a great weekend.